welcome back once again. I am Mr. Sensible. Grab yourself a seat, make yourself comfy and settle in. Today we're going to look at Mr. Ray Comfort. Yes, that's him of the banana fame, the atheist's nightmare. Before we hear from Ray, I'd like to thank my patrons. With appreciation to my patrons, including new patrons Blair Sadovitz, Brian Rulke, Critical Analysis, David Cooley, Duranku, Jason Downing, John Stock, John Tomczyk, Justin Neal, Lucky Jack Aubrey, Mark Adrisioko, Mike Apple, Paul M. Rowe, Peter Lennox and Tom C. And my newest patrons, Bjorn Kamitz, Edwulf Sledgeverter, James Holman, Michael O'Quinn and Strongle. Thank you all so very much. Well, it's been quite a few years since Ray attacked atheism with tropical fruit. And he's decided on another tack. A tasteless and ridiculous attack. You must have heard of Godwin's law, which is when someone invokes Hitler or Nazis in an argument, they've lost. He does just that. He has lost. But it's so despicable that I just feel the need to rub his nose in it a little. So despicable is this argument from a Christian that he actually decides to include in his video graphic images of the corpses of victims in a concentration camp. I will blank that out. There is no need for that whatsoever. Ray, make your argument.
This movie is called Escape, and it was made way back in the 1940s.
I'm going to interrupt straight away, Ray. It's a movie with English-speaking actors. This is not reality. But carry on.
Listen closely as the woman talks about the cruel fate of the Jews and how she was lucky enough to escape it. Then listen to the Nazi colonel correct her.
Our memoir should be called 10 Years of Escape.
Escape?
Yes. From an unbearably cruel and miserable world. Kurt, I've been very lucky living on my mountaintop above all that.
Everyone should keep his real self on the mountaintop.
And yet there are those who aren't so lucky.
It isn't luck, my child. It's a survival of the fittest.
Okay. Are we so sure who are the fittest?
So let's be clear. We're talking about a film, a movie, make-believe, a story from the 1940s where an English-speaking actor posing as a German officer uses the phrase survival of the fittest. And you think this is some form of evidence. Let's see where you take this.
Hitler put survival of the fittest, that is Darwinian evolution, into practice when he slaughtered 6 million Jews. We bring this out in our film Evolution vs. God, and it's one reason it's so hated, with an amazing 32,000 thumbs down.
Firstly, Hitler didn't put Darwinian evolution into practice. He slaughtered those he hated, those he just felt were inferior. There were Jews, there were gypsies, there were people with mental disabilities, all sorts. He felt he was purifying the Germanic race. Perhaps you're getting that ridiculous number of dislikes because you are trying to equate the acceptance of fact and science in the form of evolution with the actions of Adolf Hitler. At a certain level, you're saying that I am an equivalent to a Nazi in the concentration camps. And you wonder why people would give you a dislike.
Did Hitler put into practice survival of the fittest?
No,
What was he doing then?
he was murdering people.
There you go, Ray. P.C. Myers asked a question if Hitler was putting evolution into practice. Instantly said no. When asked what was he doing, instantly said he was murdering people.
That's survival of the fittest.
That's not survival of the fittest.
It is. It's the lion eating the antelope.
No, there's much more to evolution than just this kind of crude kill and be killed model that you have in your head.
And further to Ray's crude-ass model that he's got in his head, he hasn't followed it through. In that if there is no such thing as evolution, then it's God that's created these animals that go around killing each other for food.
I have seen a quote from Richard Dawkins saying, evolution in its rawest is incredibly cruel.
It is.
Well, evolution is cruel in that it inevitably means that either certain creatures are killed, or at least they're unable to maintain their lineage, their offspring, and their species dies out. But that's just describing evolution. If you don't accept that that leads to evolutionary change, you're still left with these animals eating each other and dying out, thanks to your God.
Yes.
That was Hitler putting evolution into practice.
That does not mean it was moral.
It was immoral.
Nobody's claiming that evolution is a moral process.
And PZ is right. It's not a moral process. It's not an immoral process. It's an amoral process. It's nature. Again, if you can't accept evolutionary change and you're saying that this whole process is immoral, then you're back once again to these animals killing and eat each other, and you're saying it's immoral based on them behaving in the way that they were created.
Evolution is a very harsh and cruel process.
The other reason it's hated is because it shows that evolution has no scientific basis whatsoever.
No scientific basis whatsoever. So you're going to ignore the fact we've actually witnessed speciation. You're not going to talk about ring species or the fossil record or DNA. And in fact, I will show you at the end of this video a 100% slam dunk that proves evolution.
You'll see evidence of this from the mouths of UCLA and USC evolutionary professors who couldn't think of any scientific evidence for evolution.
PhD anthropologists and the like that can't think of any scientific evidence for evolution. I call total bullshit.
Despite this, the godless world insists that it's scientific, because in their minds it gets rid of the big problem of God and of moral accountability.
No one's trying to get rid of God. I don't believe God's there in the first place. So we don't have to try and get rid of him. What we're doing is trying to find out how things happened. And we don't find it out just by reading an old book. You find it out with study, with examining evidence, with taking measurements, developing theories and testing them. And the theory of evolution is the strongest theory that has not been overthrown since Darwin first came up with it. You come up with something better and they will throw it out. But I can't see that happening. And as for not worrying about morals, that doesn't come into it either. Again, it's just, what does the evidence show?
Evolution is widely acknowledged as scientific fact. It's even accepted by prominent conservatives like George Will and the late Pope John Paul. That's something to think about.
Well, perhaps you should listen to Lisa Simpson. The yellow cartoon girl seems to know more about it than you do.
Your notion of God, are you a believer? No. Atheist or agnostic?
I have described myself as an amiable, low-voltage atheist.
But you have no sense of eternity in it?
No.
And I think that is the root of the problem. You fail to accept that one day you will end. But I don't know why. Because the universe has been around for 13.7 billion years, and you weren't around for all that, you don't remember it, and it doesn't seem to have been a problem before, so why should it be a problem when you die? What it is pinning your hopes on a fairy story because you're too scared to accept that we're born, we live, we die.
Check out Evolution versus God on this channel and see for yourself. And if you're an atheist, don't forget to give it a thumbs down.
Well, I wouldn't normally advocate that sort of thing, Ray. But since you've invited, yes please, I would ask everyone, after this video is finished and you've watched all the adverts, to go to the link. I put it in the description, and if I remember, I put it up there as well. And give it a nice big fat thumbs down in protest of using Nazism against evolution. And now, we'll have a look at that big slam dunk video that I told you about. Back in 2005, a group of parents took the Dover School Board in Pennsylvania, took them to court where they were trying to force the teaching of intelligent design. The famous landmark case of Kitzmiller versus Dover, presided over by US District Judge John Jones III. One of the scientists who was giving evidence, the scientific evidence, in support of the parents, had a beautiful piece of evidence. And I've seen this video years ago, and I was looking forward to finding a place to place this video. That day has come. Just have a look at this. I'm sorry the quality's a little poor, but it's the best one I can get. Absolute proof of evolution.
Many of you may know that a few months ago the genetic code of the chimpanzee was published. Therefore, we can compare our genome to these primate relatives. What do we find? I want to show you one striking finding that dates to about a year ago. You all know that evolution argues that we share a common ancestor with the great apes, the chimpanzee, the gorilla, and the orangutan. Well, if that's true, there should be genetic similarities, and in fact there are. But there's something that's really interesting and has the potential, if it were true, to contradict evolutionary common ancestry. And that is, we have 2 fewer chromosomes than the other great apes. We have 46, they all have 48. That's very interesting. Now, what does that actually mean? Well, first of all, the 46 chromosomes that we have, you got 23 from mom and 23 from dad. So it's actually 23 pairs. These guys have 24 from each parent, so they have 24 pairs. So everybody in this room is missing a pair of chromosomes. Now, where did it go? Could it have gotten lost in our lineage? If it got lost, if a whole primate chromosome was lost, that would be lethal. So there's only 2 possibilities. And that is, if these guys really share a common ancestor, that ancestor either had 48 chromosomes or 46. Now, if it had 48, 24 pairs, which is probably true, because 3 out of 4 have 48 chromosomes, what must have happened is that 1 pair of chromosomes must have gotten fused. So we should be able to look at our genome and discover that 1 of our chromosomes resulted from the fusion of 2 primate chromosomes. So we should be able to look around our genome. And you know what? If we don't find it, evolution is wrong. We don't share a common ancestor. So how would we find it? Well, biologists in the room will know that chromosomes have nifty little markers. They have markers called centromeres, which are DNA sequences that are used to separate them during mitosis, and they have cool little DNA sequences on the end called telomeres. What would happen if a pair of chromosomes got fused? Well, what would happen is the fusion would put telomeres where they don't belong, in the center of the chromosome, and the resulting fused chromosome should actually have 2 centromeres. One of them might become inactivated, but nonetheless it should still be there. So we can scan our genome, and you know what? If we don't find that chromosome, evolution's in trouble. Well, guess what? It's chromosome number 2. Our chromosome number 2 was formed by the fusion of 2 primate chromosomes. This is the paper from Nature a little more than a year ago. And I put up a little of the paper. I'm sorry it's technical, but look at what it says. Chromosome 2 is unique to our lineage. It emerged as a result of the head-to-head fusion of 2 chromosomes that remain separate in other primates. Those of you who have not kept up with how much we know about the genome should pay attention to this, because you'll be amazed at how precisely we can look at things. The precise fusion site has been located at base number 114,455,823 to 114,455,838. In other words, within 15 bases. And you'll notice multiple subtelomeric duplications. The telomeres that don't belong, and lo and behold, the centromere that is inactivated corresponds to chimp chromosome 13. It's there, it's testable, it confirms the prediction of evolution. How would intelligent design explain this? Only one way, by shrugging and saying, that's the way the designer made it. No reason, no rhyme. Presumably there's a designer who designed human chromosome number 2 to make it look as if it was formed by the fusion from a private ancestor. I'm a Roman Catholic, I'm a theist. In the broadest sense, I would say I believe in a designer, but you know what? I don't believe in a deceptive one. I don't believe in one who would do this to try to fool us. And therefore, I think this is authentic, and it tells us something about our ancestry.
Well, there you go, Ray. You don't need to invoke Nazism, or Adolf Hitler. You just need to come up with an explanation that refutes that. Until then, that's slam dunk proof. So suck it up, princess. I hope you've all remembered to like this video. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing. Hit mini-me down in the corner. Look forward to seeing you all next time. Until then, stay sensible.
Shut up and sit down.